Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's see, who do we have on this evening? Guys, don't forget when you get on, drop me a hello. Let me know where you're from. Let me move my battery pack here. It's in my way. All right, now I can see my keyboard. How's everybody doing on a Wednesday night? February the 24th. Here we are again, the end of another month. Seems like the months fly by like days now. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's see, who do we have on tonight? Fishing with Camo Joe says, congrats, Matt. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Clint Mayer says, congrats. Thank you, Clint. Jamie Nelson from Calvert City, Kentucky. Congratulations on the win. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. Heidi Clark from Idaho says, congrats. Thank you very much, Heidi. I appreciate it. Welcome. Josh Sanders says, hey, everyone from Chattanooga. What's going on, Josh? Blake Hawk says, what's up, everyone? Hello from my temporary location of Marion, North Carolina. What's going on, Blake? Glad you could join us. Joseph Thaxton from Macon, Georgia. Matthew Kofelt says, congratulations. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Solomon Ott says, congrats, Matt. Good job. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Tom A says, great win, Matt. Thank you, Tom. Ashley Coffee, what's going on? He says, good evening, Matt and Wired fam. Ron Hall from Mississippi. Hello. Jimmy Pratt says, hello, champ. Hello, Jimmy. Larry Barber from Folkston, Georgia. What's going on, Larry? Heath McDaniel, Todd Pell, thank y'all very much. I'm glad you're here. Crappie Kev, hello. Fishing Lake Country from Virginia. What's going on, buddy? Brad Nelson from Moore, Oklahoma. What's going on, Brad? Got Joseph Thaxton. Lizella, is that right? Lizella, Georgia. And the Hammer. What's going on to the Hammer? He says, tell the Hammer hello. Mike S., what's going on? Major Brown, hello, hello. Robert, Charlie, hello. Slab Slayer from Whitwell, Tennessee. What's going on, Slab Slayer? And then we got Jed from Grand Lake, Oklahoma. Congrats on the win. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, yeah, Cherokee last weekend. Cherokee was a good tournament. Well, no, it wasn't. Let's take that back. It was a good outcome. It was not a good tournament. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight because if you fish that tournament, which several guys on here did fish that tournament, it was a very, very, very odd day. It was just an odd day for a winter day. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get in depth of how that's set up and why it's set up the way it did. I've had a lot of questions from a lot of people that say, Matt, why everything I've ever been told or taught or learned about crappie fishing, it was the exact opposite as what you told everybody. Everybody at the weigh-in, when you explained how you caught your fish, was like, that's completely opposite of what everyone else did. Well, I think that's a lot of the reason that we were successful in the tournament and actually ended up winning the tournament is because we thought outside the box. We did something completely opposite of what the norm is for crappie fishing, and we were very successful with it. So we're going to get into that a lot more here in just a little bit. First and foremost, I want to thank the sponsors for the channel, Crappie Cove. So great time to talk about it because right down here at the bottom of the screen, you got discount codes rolling across your screen right there, guys. Crappie Cove, 10% off, wired discount there. Call the store and ask for Misty. Misty is who you need to talk to. She is your contact at Crappie Cove. Specialty, and then you get the Bonehead Tackle 15% off of Crappie 2021, guys. So thank you to all the sponsors there. And thank you for those codes from all of them to help save you guys some money. So take advantage of those guys. They're there for you guys. They're there for y'all to take advantage of those discounts, and we appreciate them for doing that. That is a great thing that they do for the channel, and it's not taken lightly by me. I appreciate them for it. So a little bit of a truck update, I guess. Let's talk about that a little bit. Still don't have my truck back. They are still working on it. Don't have the parts yet. Seems like parts can't get out of, they were coming out of Detroit, Michigan, and they can't get them out of Detroit. So, or they couldn't because of all the weather, and I guess maybe they don't have them either. So I don't know. Still don't have that back. Anxiously awaiting my truck back. Hopefully it'll get back soon, but yeah, still a pain point for me. What else? Let's see. News for tonight. I know you guys probably have some questions. I hadn't looked to see if you guys do, but try to get through some of the news tonight. What else do we got? Crappie Academy at Crappie Cove. So Crappie Academy at Crappie Cove, you can still register for that. There are still slots available online, and I think there's a few left in person. The Crappie Academy is coming up quick, so it's going to be March the 7th, okay? March the 7th is the date for the Crappie Academy, and I will be teaching that class. It will be very informative. I will have a book for everybody who's registered for that class with some, the sheets that we'll go over in the PowerPoint in the presentation, you will have in your book, so you can write on those. You can take your book home with you. You'll have all the documentation and everything right there so that you can reference that if you forget something, because it's 3.5 hours long. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we go over in that class, and there's going to be a lot of notes and a lot of good content in that class. So don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be very good. You can register for that at crappiecove.com. So if you're interested in going to the Crappie Academy, crappiecove.com is where you register for that. And I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys, meeting a lot of you guys, and I'm looking forward to teaching and being able to get hands-on. So I love this. I love doing the lives. I love, interacting with you guys through comments, but to have you guys there and to be able to sit down with you and look you in the eye, have these conversations, and have the back and forth, that'd be great. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. March the 7th is when that first class is, and then we're going to do one every quarter. So every 3 months, there'll be another Crappie Academy class. It's going to be really good. You can register for the whole year. If you want to register for all 4 classes, you can do so. They're all 4 going to be different. They're all 4 going to be, it's going to be stepping stones, if you will, or stair steps to hopefully, being a top angler and catching a lot of crappies. So it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. What are you guys saying here? Da-na-na-na. And so it begins, me getting lost. All right. Robert Johnson, we got you. Charlie, we got you. Slab Slayer, we got you. Johnny Coots, hello, hello. Jed Carter from Grand Lake, what's going on? Chris Jackson, hello. Texas Crappie Assassins, what's going on? He says, good evening to everybody. Cody Ayers from Elizabethton, Tennessee. Larry McBride, hello. Josh says, definitely not a good tourney. Great learning experience, though. So Josh fished in the tournament at Cherokee. Heath McDaniel, sometimes they want something different. That's right. Sometimes they just are different. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. We'll get more into the tournament discussion here in a minute. And I want to take it from how we fished in the tournament, how we won, to why I believe we were able to be successful. So without getting into it right now, well, we'll get into it in a minute. I'm anxious. I want to get into it because it's really good stuff. It's going to be really good, and I think it's going to shed some light on a lot of things. So, Slab Buster, what's going on? Phil Pickett says, hi, Wired fam from Elkhart, Illinois. So what's going on? So Blake's got a question. Matt, what has the cold weather and rain done to the fish? I've been gone, but would like to dial in on some this weekend. So, Blake, we're going to talk about that. That's part of the Cherokee discussion. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit. Give me just a minute. Marshall Barton says, hello from upstate South Carolina. Hello, Marshall. Tom says, registered for online class, not able to get to Tennessee due to the work in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm glad you were able to register for the online, Tom. I don't know, did I mention that earlier? So there is an online option for the Crappie Academy. If you can't make it to Crappie Cove in person, you can register online. You will get the same information packet that will be sent over to your email via PDF. So you'll have those PDFs that you can refer back to. And I'm going to try to send those out to you guys several days before the event. That way, if you guys want to print those out and go through them with me as I go through them online, you can do so. Okay. So it will be via Zoom, and you can log in and you can follow along. You can ask questions. We're going to hopefully have somebody there watching the Zoom that's watching your comments that can relay those comments to me, and I can answer your questions. Okay. So it's going to be really, really good for the online people as well. James from Saudi Daisy. Hello, Robert Love. Mr. Curtis. Curtis is looking forward to tomorrow going fishing. I'm always looking forward to tomorrow when I'm going fishing. Every time I get ready to go fishing, I can't sleep the night before. I'm always looking forward to it. So, guys, if you don't know who Mr. Curtis Hobbs is, that is Mr. Lightwire Hooks himself. So I actually have the logo covered up right now, but there is all Mr. Curtis's info. And I've talked about Lightwire Hooks before. Crappie Cove carries Lightwire Hooks. Mr. Curtis Hobbs is the man when it comes to hooks, because you can call Mr. Curtis. There is pre-made and preset jig heads. If you call him and just tell him you want some 1/8 ounce with some number 2 hooks, he'll send them to you. But if you call Mr. Curtis and you say, Mr. Curtis, I'd like to have an 1/8 ounce pill head with a number 1 sickle hook or a number 2 sickle hook, but I want them red. Mr. Curtis can more than likely help you out with your request. So Mr. Curtis is the man when it comes to hooks. I really appreciate him, and our friendship and relationship goes back many, many years since I started crappie fishing, actually. So it goes back many years. But I appreciate you for being here, Curtis, and I appreciate your hooks, my friend. All right, so let's get into Cherokee a little bit. So first of all, I made me some new fish clips. So we talked about fish clips several weeks ago. There's 2 ways when you catch deep fish. There's 2 ways to get those fish to equalize. Everybody knows crappie have an air bladder, okay? Fish have an air bladder, and when you reel them out of deep water, that air bladder swells, and if you put them in a live well without somehow, some way relieving that bladder, they will turn over on their side and those fish will die. So one way is to fizz the fish, which there's this ongoing debate. Do fish that get fizzed live? Do they die later? Is it safe for the fish? Is it healthy for the fish? Well, I don't want to get into all that. I don't like, even thinking that something I do to a fish could kill it a week from then. I don't even want to go down that road. So option number 2 is a fish clip, a fin clip. And I made some fin clips. I did not have any the day we talked about it, but I did make some, so I want to show them to you. What I used is a 1.5 ounce egg sinker. So that is an 1.5 ounce egg sinker right there. Okay. And then I drilled out the bottom side of it and hot glued a clip into the bottom of it. Okay. So I took a clip, an alligator clip. These are stainless steel alligator clips. Use stainless steel because if you don't, they will rust. So get the stainless steel ones, spend the extra couple dollars and get the stainless steel. But what you do is when you catch a fish deep, okay, You take this and you clip that on the pectoral fins underneath that fish, and that is really all right. So we're gonna use my ring because that hurt my finger. So clip that on the pectoral fins underneath the fish, and that what that does is that keeps that fish upright in the live well, and that fish can naturally belch the air in his bladder or her bladder, naturally belch that out and equalize itself to your live well. All right. So generally, if you clip a fish after about an hour, you can go back and you can take that clip off, and that fish will sit perfect in that live well all day long. It'll never turn over. Okay. But you have to get that fish equalized for that fish to stay alive. Okay. So that's how I do mine. I'll show them to you again. Very simple. Just a 1.5 ounce egg sinker. Drill the end of it out. You can see where well, you can't see it on that one. So I cut the little metal ring where you tie your line to, little metal swivel that goes through there. I actually cut it out. I just took a pair of cutters and cut it out. And then I drill the end of it out. Okay. Drill this bottom end out and just hot glue them. Push those in there and hot glue them. All right, let's fill it up with hot glue and push it in. So that's it, guys. Pretty simple. I have 7 of those. I have one for every fish if I need them. And they work. They work very well keeping fish alive. So that was not a problem on Cherokee. I did clip one fish that we did catch deep, but it was not a problem for us on Cherokee. So, guys, let's start off with the weather at Cherokee. The weather this past week on Cherokee was bad. It was rain and snow and cold and just miserable weather. A lot of rain. Just bad weather all the way around. A lot of water, a lot of fresh water in the lake, a lot of silt moved in, or pushed into the lake. The upper end of the lake muddied up. Just wasn't the greatest conditions. And then Saturday morning, I think it was 27 Saturday morning, 24 or 27, something like that. It was cold. Water temps were in the low 40s, and which was actually a drop from the previous weekend because it's 46, and then I think it's 43 this past Saturday. So there was a 3-degree drop in temperature, but that's not that big of a swing. 3 degrees really isn't that big of a swing with temperature. But anyway, just absolutely just cold temperatures Saturday morning. So we got out on the lake. Couldn't keep the ice out of my eyes on my rod, and I was ready to scream. About 9 o'clock, I was just done with it. I was like, this is miserable. All the eyes on the rod kept icing up, and it doesn't matter what rod you use, that's going to happen when it's 20 degrees outside. So, it was just on my nerves. That was the first downfall, and we weren't catching any fish. We fished until about 11 o'clock. And at about 11 o'clock, we had our 7th keeper fish in the boat. So we had a 7-fish limit about 11 o'clock. And then it was so bad. My partner and I have never stopped in a tournament to eat lunch, ever. We've been fishing tournaments now for 7 years, and have never stopped to fish or stopped to eat lunch. Period. We've always, ate a bag of chips or a pack of crackers, or, if we did eat a sandwich, we ate a sandwich as we were running down the lake, and our bologna's flying out the sandwich bread, and, we've never stopped, right? So it was to the point where I was done, and I said, look, I'm sitting down to eat lunch. I need a break. And my partner was like, yeah, me too. Just let's pull out here in the sun because I'm freezing to death. And we'll sit out here and eat lunch, and we'll figure something out. This ain't working. So the way we started the tournament was on deep brush, okay? And we had it in our minds that we needed to fish deep, period. The pressures had tanked. The water got muddy. Tons of fresh water in the lake. It got cold. The surface temps dropped. We knew we needed to fish deep. Okay. There were fish deep. We found fish. The aggravating thing is you would put a bait in front of a fish and it would sit there and stare at a bait and never move. And I'm not talking about it, ease over to your bait and just look at it. No, I'm talking you could put a jig on a fish's nose and it would not move. You could touch it with a jig and it would not move. That's how lethargic they were Saturday morning. So it was extremely, extremely frustrating. Now, we sat down, we're eating lunch, we're talking, we said, look, we got to figure something out. This just ain't working. It just ain't. I mean, we've got 7 fish, so we can weigh 7 fish. We've got what we need, but it's not going to win a tournament. We've got, I don't know, 7.5, 8 pounds. That ain't going to do it. We got to do something different. We're going for broke. All right. So we finished eating lunch. We started easing around the lake. We got off deep brush. We said, okay, deep brush ain't doing us any good. From previous trips up there, we knew that bluffs and structure on bluffs wasn't doing us any good. So we said, okay, let's go to docks. Let's go see if we can find some type of pattern somewhere. What have I always told you guys? And it's funny because my fishing partner said this on our way home. He said, Matt, there's always active fish somewhere in a lake. And I went, ding! Whew, I've said that how many times? There's always active fish somewhere in your lake. All right. Now, with that being said, we had to find active fish. So after lunch, we started looking. We looked at docks. We looked at deep docks. We started deep. I mean, I've always said, and I told guys this after the tournament, they said, well, what made you do what you did? And I said, I've always said, you start deep and work your way shallow in the winter. That's what we did. That's the pattern that is typically your best in the winter. But this particular day, okay, those deep fish, there was fish there. We saw hundreds and hundreds of fish. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we found fish. We just couldn't get them to bite. So we kept moving, went to this dock, went to that dock, went to this deep dock, that deep dock. They just would not bite. So we started shallowing up. All right. We shallowed up. Finally, at about 1 o'clock, something like that, 12:30, 1 o'clock, we found this pattern of shallow fish. All right. The fish were extremely shallow. I'm talking 3-4 feet. And they were moving. They were roaming. They weren't sitting still. They were moving. You watch these YouTubers and you watch these different channels and you see this different stuff and they say, how do you know it's a crappie? Well, he's sitting still in the water column. That's typically a crappie. This was not that way. These fish were moving. They were not sitting still, okay? So we were able to identify these moving or roaming fish, and we found some and we said, is that crappie? I wonder if that's crappie. So we pitched out there and caught one and went, all right. And it was a good fish. It was a cull fish. So we called one of our smaller ones and caught a bigger one. Yeah, Jed Carter, he says, I was thinking exactly that. Go find active fish. Lots of laughs. So I've said that. That's been, I guess, one of my, that and stacked vertically. You guys have heard that on this channel so many times. It's ridiculous. Go find active fish and stacked vertically. But no, so we stumbled onto this pattern of shallow fish, and from start at 7:30 to lunch, we maybe caught 12 fish, maybe 15. And then when we stumbled on this pattern of shallow fish, and these fish weren't really on docks, they were around docks, but we did catch some on the docks as well, but they were dock-oriented fish, okay? Docks had them there because, as I've said before, docks are kind of their own ecosystem. Each dock is its own ecosystem. It's got the shade, it's got the structure, it's got the bait, it's got, well, shade, structure, food, fish, right? So each dock is kind of its own ecosystem. The microplanktons, the zooplanktons, or whatever you want to call them, and the bait fish and the big fish and the shade and the structure. So they were dock-oriented fish, but they were roaming in shallow water. All right. And as far back in the creeks as we could get. The further back in the creeks we got, the better we were and the more fish we found. And we were able to put this pattern together. And from 1 o'clock to 3:30, I bet we caught 50. And we just kept culling. And then we culled 2 fish. One, cease fishing was at 3:30. We caught one at one of our really good cull fish at 3:22, and another one I think at 3:28. So we're watching the time on the live scope, and my partner's reeling one in. He's going, "What time is it? What time is it?" I'm saying it's 3:28. Get that fish in here. You know. So 2 of our better cull fish came later in the day. Excuse me. Let's talk about, so obviously after the tournament, we told everybody how we caught our fish. We told everybody what we caught our fish on, which, by the way, I'm sure you guys probably saw in the thumbnail. We caught every one of our fish on a purple and chartreuse stump bug. That's the only thing that we could get a fish to hit consistent. So you could get them to hit some of the other colors, but when we put that purple and chartreuse, stump bug on, you could watch them run to it. It was a noticeably different reaction. Okay, so right there, that's the purple and chartreuse stump bug. It's called Grapevine by Bonehead. That is the bait that we won the tournament on, without a shadow of a doubt. We tried everything else under the sun, and they wouldn't hit it. So that purple and chartreuse shined that day. But again, we stumbled upon it. We stayed with it. We never gave up. Okay, that's the biggest thing, is don't ever give up. There's active fish in the lake somewhere. Continue to move, continue to grind until you find active fish. Once you find those active fish, you've got to be able to recognize a pattern. If it works once, it's a fluke. If it works twice, it's a pattern. So if you find a pattern, stick with it and fish that pattern. Doesn't matter if it's winter, spring, summer, fall. Think outside the box. If the fish, you've got your go-to, what the magazine or the book says to do for each time of year, but you've got to also think outside the box, guys. And we were able to do that, and we were successful on that specific day. Now, on the way home after the weigh-in, of course, my partner and I are talking, let's talk about why those fish were set up there. Let's talk about what our thought is about. Of course, we don't know what the fish are thinking. We're just trying to put it together on the way home as to, okay, why was it 180 of what your typical winter fishing is? Why was it 180 on this day, right? So there's a couple different things that play into why those fish were up so shallow. So as I've said before, with a lot of water and a lot of rain comes a lot of silt. And with muddy water, fish move up. Okay, that's reason number one. So there was a noticeable stain to the water on Cherokee that day with all the rain that we had. So, there's option one, we'll call it. Option two, all right, before all that cold weather hit, there was a little bit of a warming, and water temps did rise. So water temps were down around that low 40, upper 30, low 40. And then there was a period of warmth where that water warmed up to that 46, 47 mark. And what we're thinking happened is when we got that warming and those fish said, okay, it's starting to warm up, they moved in to, the back third of some of these pockets. You've got to kind of understand Cherokee Lake. Cherokee Lake is a very deep reservoir. It's sheer walled reservoir. You can be fishing, standing on the bank and throw a bait out 25 feet from the bank and be in 25 feet of water. Okay. So there's sheer walls in this reservoir, a lot of fast drops, not a whole lot of open water flats, if you will. It's very sheer walled. So as a whole, so we felt like because there was that warming pattern, those fish moved up, and when that cold came in that week of the tournament, it kind of pushed those fish back out into suspension, kind of right off of that shallow, right off the shallow areas, okay? Just outside the shallow areas where they were still kind of in that shallow or the vicinity of shallow water, but they were kind of stuck in suspension because of that cold front, okay? And the cool off of the water again. So that's kind of option number 2. And then option 3 is you always have early spawners, all right? And you always have a side of the lake that warms quicker than the other side, all right? Because one side of the lake, well, I shouldn't say one side of the lake. So you've got the side of the lake that gets the most sun, okay? Everybody knows east-west lakes lay different ways, but your side of the lake that gets the most sun exposure generally warms quicker. So, could those early spawners thought about, kind of moving up and getting ready? Because all the fish we caught had eggs in them, obviously. They're putting eggs on. And we did catch some, more female fish than male fish. A lot of the fish we caught deep out further towards the main lake were male fish, but we did catch more females shallow. So again, that's option number 3. Could have been early spawners that had moved into the sunnier side of the lake. Option 4 is as the day progressed, those fish moved up because it was a bluebird sunny day. So those fish could have potentially moved up into that shallower water where the sun was warming that stained water. It was warming it just a little bit more than it was warming the main lake. So those fish moved in there and were roaming around looking to feed. That's an option as well. So there's a lot of different, scenarios. I wish that I could have went back the next day because I would have liked to have went back so on Sunday and actually been able to kind of look at that pattern and try to decide what it is. We did see some bait, not a lot of bait, but we did see some bait in the areas where our fish were caught. So, that could have leaned us more towards those fish were moving up to feed, but they were definitely there for a reason. And they were definitely there because, like I said, we only caught about 12 or 15 fish before lunch. And then after lunch, we probably caught 40 or 50 fish. I mean, it was a noticeable change for us when we found shallower fish. So we were blessed. It was nothing short of that. We were blessed that specific day just to be able to continue to think outside the box, continue to move around and find those fish. And look, when we got back to the ramp, because East Tennessee Crappie Club, they have a tradition. The guys that finish in the money always give a little brief synopsis, if you will, of how they caught their fish and what baits they used, colors. that sort of thing. Not necessarily areas or GPS coordinates, but we heard the same thing from everybody else in the field. They fished deep. They struggled to get fish to bite, and they just stayed as consistent as they could on deep fish, and caught the ones that they could pluck out. That's pretty much how the rest of the field fished. And it was a grind for a lot of the field. And then when they got to us for us to give our synopsis, we told them we experienced the exact same thing until lunch, and then we just got tired of beating our heads against the wall, and we went and looked for a different pattern, found that pattern, and it was on fire. And we just caught bukus of fish after lunch, and very active fish. I mean, you could get a bait within 3 feet of a fish, and you could see them on the live scope turn and come towards it, and then hit it. So it was very, very different, very, very different day, but very fun. Absolutely very fun. I love fishing those tournaments. I love seeing those guys, and it's always a lot of fun. So anyway, I haven't been looking at your comments. Let me go back and look at a few comments here and see what you guys are saying. I guess my whole point is, we talk about, how do you approach winter fishing? How do you approach summer fishing? How do you approach spring fishing, fall fishing, so on and so forth. You can always it's good to always have an approach. It's good to always have a plan. But if your plan doesn't pan out, you always got to think outside the box and have a plan B. And you've got to find active fish. That's the biggest part is find active fish. I know I say that too much, and you guys probably get tired of hearing it, but I mean, if we really could have just ate lunch and went right back to grinding like we were grinding, and would we have won? Who knows? But we definitely wouldn't have done as well. In my thought, we wouldn't have done as well as we did if we would have went back to doing it the way we were before lunch. So, Slab Slayer says, going to Chick tomorrow for the first time in a few weeks. Weather has changed drastically. A couple 70-degree days. Any recommendations? Anytime anybody's going to Chick, I tell them fish docks. I mean, docks on Chick are hard to beat. You can go catch fish now. This year on Chick has been really difficult for a lot of anglers because there's just a blue million fish in the lake, but they're all 8 to 9.5 inches long. So should be good in a year or two, but I've heard it's a struggle down there. The struggle's real on Chick to catch good keeper fish consistently down there. I've heard. I haven't been on Chick in a while, but anytime I'm going to Chick, I've got a dock shooter in the boat. That's for sure. Slabbuster says, I'm getting to like fishing muddy water this time of year. It stays that way. I wouldn't know how to act if it cleared up. Yeah, that's funny. There's a lot of rain in the winter, and it does keep the water pretty stained up, but muddy water warms quicker too. So Slabbuster says, what's the saying? 90% of fish live in 10% of the lake, and only 10% of fishermen catch them. Yeah, that's the saying, Slabbuster, for sure. Heidi says shallow fish are warmer from the sun penetration. That is true too, Heidi. You're right. You're exactly right. The only thing we can think is to kind of debunk the sun thing is those deeper fish weren't pulling up any. So you had, and I'm telling you guys, we found just gobs of fish. Okay. I'm talking groups of 50, 75, 100 fish consistently. I mean, there was that many fish in places, and they were just stuck. I mean, they were absolutely glued. It was almost to the point where you're wiping the live scope screen going, is this real? I mean, is there something on my screen? Is it frozen? It was almost to that point. And the only thing I can think to debunk the sun aspect of it is that those deeper fish would not, if some of those fish were moving up to warmer water because of the sun, then you think you would have seen more fish that were out deeper doing the same thing, and they just weren't. It just, I don't know. I'm thinking, I'm leaning more towards there was fish that were shallow before the front that, yes, got pushed back out, but did not push out to true deep water. I'm thinking because, and it's hard to say deep and shallow water for Cherokee because it's such a deep reservoir. I'm leaning more towards those fish were there as early spawners, and they had pushed up with those thoughts in mind, got stuck because of the cold front, and just sat right there because now today it was 70 something degrees, and yesterday it was warm too. I was walking around in a short sleeve shirt yesterday, so I'd say those fish are probably right back there shallow again, and probably doing the same thing that they were. But I'm leaning more towards, sunny side of the lake, maybe an early spawning batch or an early spawning group that were considering it. I'm not telling you they were up there spawning because they weren't. It wasn't. I mean, upper 40s isn't anywhere near it, but upper 40s is when, you could get some early spawners that are thinking about going that direction. So I'm leaning a little more towards that. And I think my partner was kind of leaning a little more towards that as well after having an hour and a half conversation on the way home about what in the world was going on. Because it literally floored everybody at the tournament. I say it floored everybody. I think it floored everybody because there was a lot of people that came up to us and said it floored them that we caught them that shallow. I don't know that everybody is a good term, but several people it floored that we caught them that shallow. And it kind of did us too, to an extent. But it was a lot of fun. And I will say this, that live scope played a huge role in us being successful and winning that tournament because there was a lot of fish that were roaming that we could see moving, and we were able to get out, kind of lead those fish with a bait and get that bait in front of that fish as he was moving. So live scope definitely played a role in winning that tournament without a doubt. Cody Ayers, I've read that the majority of crappie are found on one end of the lake on Cherokee. Any truth to that? Some, Cody, for sure. The entire lake has crappie in it, but there is a higher, in my opinion, a higher concentration on one end of that lake than the other. I haven't fished one end as much as the other, so that's probably not a very good comparison. Cherokee is one of the furthest lakes from me, and it's always been a trip to go up there. So I will say this. I have not fished Cherokee since, well, I'll tell you. Hang on. I have not been on Cherokee since, wait a minute. Open. Okay. Yeah, when my phone decides to work, I'll tell you. You okay? Oh, here we go. All right, so I have not been on Cherokee since last year. Our tournament on Cherokee was November. November of 2019 is the last time I was on Cherokee. I did pre-fish. Well, you guys know I pre-fished because my truck got vandalized, but I was able to pre-fish it for a day. But I hadn't been on it since 2019. So that shows you how often I go to Cherokee. It's very few and far between that I'm on Cherokee Lake because it is one of the furthest lakes from me. And there's such good fishing right here around the house that a lot of times I don't venture that far up for a fun day of fishing. It generally gets hit in the East Tennessee Crappie Club schedule when we have a tournament up there. I spend a little time up there. So it's been a little minute since I've been on Cherokee, but to answer your question again, Cody, from my experience up there, yes, one end of the lake does have more fish on it than the other. Jed says, what about the guys that came in second and third place? Were they fishing deep as well, or did they stumble on those shallow fish as well? No, to answer that question, very good question, Jed. So the guys that were fishing or finished second and third fish deep all day, from my understanding. They never did catch fish anywhere near, and that's why I said there was a lot of people that were very surprised when we said, we caught fish 2 to 4 feet deep. As a matter of fact, I saw a lot of head shakes when when we said 2 to 4 feet. Everybody was like, well, what did you just say? Did you say 2 to 4? So it was kind of a shock to some. Again, I don't want to say all or everybody because I don't know, but all or everybody. But there was a lot of people that came up to me that were surprised that we caught them that shallow. And I do know the second and third place guys fish deep water all day because they said that in their little synopsis they gave as well because they finished in the money. So, but good question. Very good question. D-Car says, thumbs up, people. Yeah, guys, smash that thumbs up button, please. That lets everybody know that it's good content and you like what's going on at Wired for Crappie. And that tells YouTube that it's good content too. So if you guys don't care, smash that thumbs up for me, please. Todd Pell, when you're on that many fish, how many different colors will you try before moving on? So it's a blessing to have multiple anglers in a boat. I will say that because, of course, you guys know I like my stump bugs, and you guys know that I've got specific colors that I lean towards. Of course, moon dust, moonshine glow, black and chartreuse, pumpkin chartreuse, purple and chartreuse, blue and chartreuse, white and chartreuse. Pretty much everything you see behind me on the wall is kind of some of my lean-tos. So, Todd, to answer your question, hang on one second, Todd. I'll be right back. I just seen a super chat. Tom A., opinion on plain painted jigs versus jigs with eyes painted on them. Notice any difference? Tom, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate it very much. Guys, if you don't know what a super chat is, that is a way for you guys to give back to Wired for Crappie, to the channel, to keep me on the water, making great content for you guys to watch every week. So, Tom, I appreciate that. It's a blessing to me. Thank you, my friend. And as you guys saw right there, Tom gave a super chat and has a question, and it pops up to me immediately and says, blink, 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 click on me, click on me. It gives me a notification at the top. That way I can get to the question right there. So we will go back to the question before, but I want to answer Tom's question here real quick. So original or opinion, plain painted jigs versus jigs with eyes painted on them. I've said it before. I do fish with a painted jig head, but I also fish with an unpainted jig head a lot too. Uh, Actually, probably 50-50. 50% of the time, I'm fishing with an unpainted jig head that doesn't even have any paint on it, Tom. Silver is a color, guys. Okay. So right here is an example of my unpainted jig heads. That is a crappie magnet double cross. Uh, that is an unpainted jig head. It's a color. Silver's a color. Shad or silver. So there you go. I guess that's kind of my opinion on the unpainted. But as far as an eye or no eye, uh, you know, again, the same reason I believe in a nibble is because of color and contrast. So when you have an eye, it gives you another color yet again. So if you have a red jig head with a white eye, at least you've got a red and a white there. It may be something that a fish could key in on. Anytime you can add color, it's could potentially help you. It's not going to hurt you most of the time, but it could potentially help you. So if you've got a white eye and the fish look up and see white and it catches their eye and gets them to look, then, it's helping. But, do I think you have to have a painted eye? No, I don't, Tom. I don't think you have to have a painted eye, but, it definitely doesn't hurt. Okay. And thank you again for the super chat, Tom. I appreciate it very much, my friend. All right, let's see here. Let me go back to Todd's question. All right, Todd. Sorry about that. When you are on that many fish, how many different colors do you try? So again, you guys know some of my go-tos. My fishing partner also has his go-tos. He's got his colors that he likes. So it's always good if you got one guy in the boat that's catching a few on a color, but you don't know if that's the exact right color. Live scope has helped crappie fishing so much from an aspect of being able to see the fish's reaction, being able to, and you can watch the screen a lot of times on the live scope and say, yep, they didn't like that, or good night, did you see that fish run to that jig? That in itself is a huge benefit to crappie fishing. But let me take it off live scope a minute, okay, and say we don't have live scope in the boat because not everybody does. So let's take it off live scope for a minute. If you've got a guy in the boat that, he's catching a couple on this jig, but you're not sure it's the right color, it's a blessing to have another guy there that can switch colors. So you've got one bait that's doing pretty good in there, or at least catching fish. You're bringing it through there and catching a few. It's always good for your partner or whoever you're fishing with to fish with a different color. Shoot a jig under there. If he doesn't get bit, pick up a different rod, shoot another one under there, or change jigs, shoot another color under there. Generally, I'll give it two casts. If I put it in front of those fish twice and they don't even move on it, or I don't get bit, then generally I'll pick up a different rod, try a different color for 2 or 3 casts. I don't get bit there, I'm gone. Okay. So I don't too much stick around, especially during a tournament, Todd. During a tournament, you're rather biting my jig or you're not. And if you're not, then I am gone. Now there are times, especially in the winter, where I will slow down a little bit, and I will stay on fish a little bit longer, 4 or 5 casts, and give them the opportunity to decide they want to eat because they're lethargic in the winter. We all know that. They slow down. Cold water slows their metabolism down. The fish slows down. It's just like us. If it's cold outside, we don't get real motivated to go outside and mow the yard. You know what I mean? So, of course, you don't mow in the winter, but you get what I'm saying. So that's kind of how I do it. How me and my partner do it. If my partner's with me, is he's habitual for changing colors, changing jigs, trying different profiles, doing this. We have this running joke. He always says, I'm going to find something that they'll bite besides a sunbug. I'm going to find something that they will. And then after about, not every time, But sometimes after about 20, 30 minutes of that, he's going, where's that pack of stump bugs? I can't take it anymore. So, and that was the case on this specific day. This specific day, that purple and chartreuse stump bug was the ticket. That was it right there. Okay. They wouldn't touch anything else. I think we caught maybe one or two fish on a different jig, but that right there is what it was about. That bait won the tournament for us, without a doubt. Let's see. What else we got here? But great question, Todd. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, buddy. Randy. Good question, Randy. Where do you have most of your luck on Teleco? Brush piles or docks? For numbers or for big fish? That's a difference. For tournament fish or for numbers? Generally speaking, you can go to docks and catch plenty of fish. So docks are meccas a lot of times for fish. So generally, when you find a good dock, you find a lot of fish under it. Mark, how long will you stay on the fish trying to get them to bite? I mentioned this a little bit, but I'll mention it again, Mark. Generally, I'm there on a good, cold 24-degree day. I may stay 10 minutes to get one, try to get one to bite. If I can tell he's a big fish and I can tell that I want to catch him for a tournament, if it's a tournament fish, I may stay on him. Everything's a little bit different when you're fishing a tournament. So, you're trying to catch the 7 biggest, not necessarily catch the most. So it's always a little bit different when you're tournament fishing. There's a switch, there's a gear flip there. And if I can tell he's a really big fish, then I may stay on him in the winter, 5, 7 casts, maybe. If he ain't even moving, I'm gone. But any other time of the year, I'm pretty much 2 to 4 casts. If I know I'm presenting it to those fish, I'm gone. Now, before live scope, you may stay there for 10 minutes because you may just have to get the angle right. You may have to get the depth right. You may have to get everything lined up perfect for those fish to turn on. Generally, when you find a group of fish, a lot of times they're oriented in the same direction. If you're fishing wind or you're fishing current or you're fishing a brush pile and they're on the shady side, they a lot of times those fish will be oriented in the same direction, and you've got to get your bait to come across those fish in a manner that looks natural to those fish for those fish to react on it. So a bait swimming up current generally doesn't look natural to a fish in my mind, because if you're a little bitty shad or a little 1.5 inch bait or 1 3/4 inch bait like stump bug, it's going to be awfully hard swimming against 60,000 CFMs trying to go upstream. So, those are all things you got to kind of keep in the back of your mind and apply to a brush pile or a dock or whatever it is you're fishing, a rock or a ledge or a point, whatever it is. So you got to kind of think presentation and how you're giving it to those fish. So before live scope, may have stayed a little bit longer, may have moved around that brush pile a little bit, spun around. And I know I'm given kind of 2 different answers, but I've got to remember that some of you guys don't have live scope yet, and some of you guys have to take a little bit more time, move around that brush pile, hit those different angles, okay? Slab Buster says, hey, Matt, what was y'all's winning weight? Maybe I missed it if you said already. I did not. Thank you, Slab Buster. So we had 7 fish, 9.37 pounds, I believe. Let me look just to be sure. I want to say it was 937. Yeah. We had 937 with 7 fish. Second place was 859 with 7 fish. And third place was 851 with 7 fish. So There you go. That was it. 937 was what we had. Second place was 859, and third place was 851. And congratulations to the team that finished second and third. I know they fished very hard. They did really well that day for the conditions, and congratulations to everybody that fished that tournament because it was a great tournament and it was very tough conditions to be fishing in. So congratulations to all the anglers that participated in that. It was a very hard fought event. So and it was a good event. It was fun. It was a fun event, and it was a lot of fun for sure. Sid Lewis, what's going on? Tyler Key says, good evening, y'all. Fished Watts Bar today and struggled to find the bigger fish. Caught tons of 8 to 9 inch. Tyler, I hate to hear that because I've heard that from a lot of people this year, and Watts Bar was a mecca last year for big fish. There was a lot of big fish in Watts Bar last year, and I've heard this year is not that way. So I don't know. Hopefully those big ones, we got a tournament on Watts Bar next month. So hopefully they will move up. East Tennessee Crappie Club is on Watts Bar March the 20th. Going out of Kingston City Park. So if you guys want to fish a tournament with the club, Kingston City Park, East Tennessee Crappie Club on Facebook. You can hit them up there. If you have any questions or anything about the tournaments, but March the 20th next month is when that is. It's going to be a fun tournament for sure. Steven says, hi, everyone from Holly Springs, North Carolina. I know what I am going to do tomorrow. Listen to the live feed that I about missed. Well, we're glad you're here, Steven. Better late than never, my friend. So what do you guys think? I mean, let me hear what you guys think about it. You guys have any questions? Any questions about the lake? Any questions about, I know Texas is finally thawed out, so they're good over there. Well, I say they're good. Still a lot of devastation from that storm that went through down there, but it's at least warmer over there. I think all the snow and ice is gone over there anyway, but some of my Texas guys on here could probably answer that better than I could. But yeah, all in all, if you guys have any questions, please put some down there. I'd be more than happy to answer anything anybody has tonight. But as far as the tournament's concerned, that was pretty much the shakedown. That's pretty much it. It was a hard fought tournament, and we were very, very fortunate to win, and we were blessed to win. And I think that's out of the, what is that? Is that the 5th or 6th tournament that we fished? Let me look this year. So the East Tennessee Crappie Club, that is we had to cancel one. I think that is the 5th tournament this year that we fished. And we have so far had a pretty decent year. We're on top for Angler of the Year this year. As of right now, there's still 2 tournaments to go, so that could change. There are a lot of anglers that are really tight at the top of the Angler of the Year list, so it could change on a whim. So far, we've got 2 wins, 2 second place finishes, and a Melton Hill. So out of the 5 tournaments, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and a Melton Hill. So, and I'm not going to go into the Melton Hill. I can't stand that lake. That lake drives me nuts. It's not really a lake. It's more of a river, and there's good crappie in it. Don't get me wrong, but it is a challenging lake. That's for sure. A lot of current, cold water. Excuse me, guys. Cold water current. It's a gem of a lake. That's for sure. Gem of a fishery. Jeff White says, thinking about hitting Hartwell or Russell next weekend. If you had a choice, which would you hit? Hartwell all day long. I'd go to Hartwell in a minute. If somebody said, hey, let's go to Hartwell in the morning and told me I could get off work, I'd go to Hartwell. So, without a doubt. And I would go to the Tugelo State Park side of Hartwell, and I would look in the creek channels and at docks. That's all I would do. I'd idle the creek channels in and out of the branches, and I would look at docks on the Tugelo State Park side. That's all I'd do and where I'd go. Tom, good question. I did not mention this. I apologize. So, so the presentation that we were using was actually a swimming presentation, a pitch and swim. The fish that were out deep would not hit a moving bait. You had to hold it in front of their nose until they decided to bite. And you had to hold it still. When we found the active fish, we were able to pitch out to those fish and swim that jig or bounce that jig by those fish and get them to react and bite. It was a lot like a fall bite, a spring bite, a summer bite. Those fish would turn, they'd see the jig, they'd turn on the jig, they'd hit the jig all in one motion. It was not, here's your jig, fish come up, sit there for a second, and then bite. No, it was fish down here, jig comes down, fish sees it, moves up, hits it, and is going. So it was a very active bite, and when we found that, it was a sight for sore eyes, Tom. So that's basically, again, that's what allowed us to win the tournament, is finding active fish. Cody, since Cherokee is deeper and steep walled, does it turn on later in the spring for pre-spawn crappie versus, say, Douglas? No, Douglas and Cherokee are going to go off about the same time for the most part. There's going to be a little bit of variation there because Cherokee may go a little bit before Douglas because Cherokee has more blackfish in it than Douglas does. Douglas has more whitefish in it, and whitefish are going to spawn a little later than the blacks. Blacks are going to go first, and for that reason, there's going to maybe be a little bit of an earlier spawn on Cherokee for the blackfish. But they're about on schedule as far as the whites are concerned. D. Carr says 75 degrees in Dallas Monday. Man, that's good weather right there. So I'm guessing all the snow and everything is then gone, right? At 75 degrees, I'm sure it's pretty gone. Yeah, Mike S. says 70 degrees and sunny in Texas today. Isn't that funny? You guys were just slammed with the nastiest ice, snow, junk, and now it's 70 degrees and it looks like it never happened. Jed says Lake here froze over pretty good. Shad kill was insane. What are your thoughts on how that will affect fishing for a while? It's going to affect fishing during that period of time, but once the waters start to climb again, Jed, once y'all start getting some warmer weather and the temperatures start to rise on your surface temperatures and your lake temperature begins to climb, it's gonna go right back. I mean, those fish are resilient. They're not gonna. Now, I did see some lakes that lost some fish due to the cold, but I think that was certain species. One was tilapia, and tilapia they can't handle cold. I mean, tilapia, cold water just kills them instantly almost. But anyway, it's not going to affect fish. If you're worried about the shad kill won't hurt them either. I mean, we have shad kills here in East Tennessee every year, and it doesn't affect your fishing. Your reservoir will bounce back from it. David Moyer, what amp is your battery on your live scope? So I run an Amped Outdoors 30 amp hour lithium. The 30 amp hour lasts me. I have fished 2 full 8-hour days and still had over 12 volts. I think I was running 12.6 or 12.7 after 2 8-hour days. So I'm generally running 13.4 to 13.5 on a fresh battery. And I think actually it is spec'd to be able to run a system, not just the unit, but the whole LiveScope system. It's spec'd to be able to run it for 3 8-hour days, and I believe it would. So, 30 amp hour from Amped Outdoors is what I run. D-Car says water temperature in some creeks up to the low 60s. So they're getting ready to kick it down there then. If you're up to the low 60s, D, it ain't going to be long. You're going to have fish laying down there. You guys have a lot of blackfish down there, or is most everything down there whites? You guys have black crappie at all? I know there's some black nose in Texas. I don't know what part of Texas. I think you said Dallas. So you're in the Dallas area. So I know you guys have some black nose crappie down that way, but I don't know. Do you have a lot of black crappie down there, D? Or is it mostly whites? Let's see. I've got my 30 amp hour around here somewhere, actually. I've been running mine for a while. So Amped Outdoors used to be Energized Outdoors. That's who they used to be. Now they are Amped. They had a name change. That shows you how old my battery is. But that is the 30 amp hour. It says 12.8, but I actually get about 13.4 out of mine. And I love this battery. I absolutely love it. It's my bestest friend because it is light. It is small. You throw it in a compartment. It's a good thing to have. That's for sure. If that one craps out, I would gladly go buy another one. There's no doubt about it. So, and you guys know I'm not sponsored by them. So I have that one because I believe in the product and I love it. And it works for me. Now it could crap out tomorrow, but it works for me every time I take it to the water. So. Paul Greer, I may have missed it, but what depth did you catch your fish in the afternoon? Thanks, Matt. 2 to 4 feet, Paul, is where we caught them that afternoon. So after lunch, we were able to locate, like I said, a pattern that was shallow, and we were able to catch some really good fish shallow. So we were definitely blessed. And like I said, it was on and around docks, shallow docks. D-Car says mostly whites, blacks on Fork, and a few other lakes. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was kind of thinking you guys didn't have a whole lot of black crappie down there, but black crappie spawn in a little cooler temperature than white crappie do. That's why they generally go first. Marshall Barton says heading to Hartwell in the morning, but not the Tugelo area, going to Clemson area. Thieves are hitting a lot of ramps, so can't go to where I wanted to. I will be putting in at Twin Lakes. Man, I hate to hear that, Marshall. There's obviously thieves up here too. They got me last weekend. So, well, not last weekend, weekend before last. I guess last weekend was the tournament. Weekend before that, they got me. Took the catalytic converters off my truck. So, are they doing the same thing down there, Marshall? Is it catalytic converters they're getting? Gary says, got canceled on Kentucky Lake this last year. What's your thoughts for this year? What got canceled, Gary? I need a little more info on that, Gary. What got canceled? I'd love to give you my thoughts. I'm not sure what it is you're talking about. Crappie Kev, how much does that battery cost? Oh, sorry about that. I should have said that. From Amped, I don't remember. I think this one, back when they were energized, cost me about $170. I think they went up a little bit since then. I think they're actually up to like $185 or $190. But Crappie Cove actually sells Amped Outdoors batteries. So they are difficult to come by. Obviously, with live scope, people are buying these faster than they can even get them made. So there may be a lead time on getting one. But if you call Crappie Cove, Crappie Kev, right down here at the bottom, getting ready to restart, it looks like. You can get Crappie Cove's phone number, which is coming up on the screen right there. You can give them a call and you can get 10% off that battery with your wired discount. Okay. Gary says catalytic converters here too. Yeah, I mean they're getting them everywhere. From my understanding, it's a national thing with these catalytic converters. They're getting them everywhere, and it's because they can get rid of them, right? That's because they can take them and sell them somewhere. I don't generally voice my opinion, but I will on this one. I think somebody needs to step up to the plate and make it illegal for people to buy them. If they can't get rid of them somewhere, it'll slow them down from taking them. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, when they can take them in and get an instant payday for taking them to somebody to scrap, they make it pretty easy. I think somebody needs to put a stop to that. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I know there's trickle down effect to all that too. So, that is what it is. But Gary says his fishing trip got canceled. Well, hopefully it won't get canceled this year. Gary, I hope you'll be able to make a trip. Marshall says yes, and breaking windows out and rummaging through vehicles. Those heads, yep. It's bad. And I've always said, if you're an outdoorsman and you go to enough boat ramps and you fish enough, something is going to happen. Knock on wood. But if you're an outdoorsman, eventually something's going to probably happen at some point. So unfortunately, that's the world we live in today, guys. It stinks, but it is what it is. And I'm biting my tongue, so I don't say anything else. You guys are going to get me started. All right. Yeah, there you go. Tom says $204 with charger, with the charger for the 30 amp hour model. So that's about right with the charger. I think when I bought mine, it was like 175 or something with just the battery, and then the charger was extra. So it's about the same. It's not much more. A little more, but not much. Larry says, looks like they poured. What's up, Larry, by the way? Hello. Looks like they re-poured the ramp at Spring City Marina. Any guess how much longer it should be till it's open? I don't know when they poured it, Larry. Concrete, you generally want 30 days for it to cure. So my guess, being in the water, they may, I don't know. Is it in the water? I don't know. Probably not, since they poured it, right? I would say probably at least 30 days, something like that. All right, guys. Looks like we got to the I got to the end of my comments here, so we're probably going to call it for this evening. I thank each and every person for watching. I thank each and every one of you for your comments. I really do enjoy getting on here. Thank you for the super chats tonight. I love our live sessions, getting on here and just being able to talk to you guys and answer some questions. Steven, thank you for the super chat, Steven. I appreciate you very much. He says, at Curtis Hobbs, have a great day fishing tomorrow. Thank you, Steven, for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. It's a blessing to me. I do not take those lightly, my friend, and I appreciate you for it. So thank you all. James Hamby says he poured part of that ramp today. So, James, what do you think? 30 days to cure? Probably something like that. Anyway, thanks again, guys. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good week. Have a blessed week. We'll see you on the video this week, and then we will see you on the live next Wednesday. Okay, guys? So I appreciate each and every one of you again. And as always, guys, God bless. We'll see you later.